And how do you get used to using a tool a lot? If you want to use a chainsaw, if you want to use a hammer, if you want to use a wrench, practice in a controlled, safe environment.
I've been teaching this concept a lot recently in my Inner Circle Mastermind program and my Accelerator program. And it's been helping my students learn how to play the cocktail style solo piano ballad approach extremely well. Like, I haven't seen this much progress from them in this particular approach in a really, really long time. And it's all due to this one simple setup that I'm going to show you and teach you in this particular podcast lesson video. My name is Brendan Lowe, creator and founder of Jazz Piano School. Don't forget to go to jazzpianoschool.com to check out all the other amazing free education that's available. And if you're looking to get more support and take some next steps in your jazz piano journey, there is a membership, many courses, and even live teaching programs available there as well. With that being said, let's dive right in.
All right, here it is, the one easy setup you need for solo piano to create beautiful, lush, two-hand voicing solo piano arrangements every single time. Bass note, shells, melody, whatever that melody is, okay? Now, I'm not referring to the chart right now. I'm just saying this is the system. Bass note, if I'm playing an E flat minor 7 chord, shells, melody. Now, this basic structure will help you play all solo piano cocktail style ballads whenever you want with ease. And what it's going to allow you to do is to add extensions. After you have this basic foundation down, you can start to add extensions like the 9, the 11, and even maybe the 5 down here. This is as pro as it gets, everyone, right? There's nothing really more complicated than this, and I just taught it to you in 2 steps, right? So again, foundation, bass note, shells, melody. After you got this down, you can do this pretty well. Then after you know your extensions, you can start to add your extensions in. Again, like I said, the 9, the 11, this is for an E flat minor 7 chord. Maybe the 5 down here, I'll talk about that in just a second. Maybe 11 down here with 2 notes, right? You see that? So this is really the path to create beautiful, pro, lush, solo piano cocktail style ballad arrangements, okay? So let's talk about this for a second. There's 2 iterations. I'm going to go from the bottom and build up from there. The bass note, we need the bass notes. Now, the bass notes are the roots of the chord. So when you see an E flat minor 7, this is body and soul, for example, I'm going to want that bass note down in the bottom end of the piano. Here's the cutoff. Okay, the cutoff, this C, C3 on the piano is really the cutoff for your bass notes. You really don't want roots, again, meaning the chord symbol letter above this note. It's just a little bit too high. Think about the double bass. The double bass sounds below this the majority of the time, right? That's how you get these rich, lush voicings. The reason your voicings sound thin and not rich and lush like the pros on the albums, right, is because a lot of times your bass notes, everyone's playing up here. It's too high. Now, there's stuff and voicings that are meant for this area of the piano, but again, specifically for solo piano cocktail style ballads, solo piano cocktail style ballads, this is what you need to do. This is what you need, this bass note here, to create those lush sounds. Next, shells. Your shells of the chord need to be stacked up next from the bass note. Nothing should really ever come next after that. Now, obviously, there's little subtle variations to everything I'm telling you. Some people like to put the 5th in, but some of my mastermind students in my Inner Circle program and my Accelerator students that I teach, sometimes they'll just put 1 and 5 here, and then they'll put, for example, the 7 here, and they'll be missing the 3rd, right? So you can't just have 1 and 5 down here in the 7 without the 3rd. You need the bass note in the shells. The shells are the 3rd and 7th. They dictate the quality of the chord. So when I play an E flat minor 7 chord here in root position, I don't really need the 5. I can play an E flat minor 7 like this, 1, root, bass note, 3, and 7, and it's still going to dictate the quality of the chord. Okay, so I don't really need my 5. My 5 is the least important note to producing a jazz chord, a 7th chord. All right, now that there's variations to that, right? Don't jump on my words on everything I'm saying. Well, Brendan said, right? Trust me, I'm going to tell you about variations very soon, but just in general, this is what you should strive for. Okay, so bass note, your shells are going to be stacked up above your bass note, and then whatever your melody is on top, you're going to play that. You're going to play that melody. So, for example, not in this tune, but for example in the tune But Beautiful, it's over a G major 7. My A natural here is the melody. I have a G major 7. I have bass note, shells, and then I have my melody. This is this template I'm trying to teach you in this lesson today. This is the essentially the foundation you should practice through all ballad tunes that you want to play. Okay, so bass note, shells, melody. That's it. If you can play through your tunes in that way, in that simple foundation, you're going to be light years ahead of where you were. I promise you. And well on the way to creating rich, lush sounds like this or anything you really want to create. Any pro sounds, big, lush, thick voicings, this is what you need. So let's check out Body and Soul for a second, because I'm going to be able to work through a lot of situational variances that are going to come up when you do approach tunes. The first situational variance you're going to encounter is going to be when the melody is low on the piano. When the melody is high, for example, the But Beautiful example I just gave you, I should say high. This is right in the middle of staff. So if you can picture where an A natural, if you see the A natural there on the notation, that's kind of almost right in the middle of the staff. This B natural is right in the middle of the staff. This A natural is pretty close. This allows me room for my hands to play a rich, lush voicing. It also allows my two hands to split the shells between my thumbs, right in the middle. So again, bass note, shells right in the middle, right after the bass note, melody. Okay? When the melody is low on the staff, like you see in Body and Soul, this E flat here is the lowest line on the staff. This doesn't provide me much room to split my shells between my two thumbs. And that is one of the key components to the lesson I'm teaching you right now. I didn't say that before, but if you can split your shells between your thumbs, what this does is it allows your right hand 3 fingers to pick out colors and extensions which you're going to want in the future. That's why it's important to split your shells between your 2 thumbs or your 2 hands. You see like this? Because it frees up your right hand fingers, your 2, 3, and 4 to pick out extensions, right? And that way I can create pro voicings. So when the melody is low, check it out. I know I need my melody. What else do I need? I need my bass note. I need my shells. So where are my shells? Well, my shells are here and here. This is getting a little bit muddy. Now, the way I know this, because 1 and 7 down here on this E flat, okay, a little bit too low. I'm going to show you the cutoff. You should write this down. The cutoff really for 1s and 7s is right around this F7 here, okay? So essentially, this is F2 on the piano. It's the second F on the piano. Anything really below this F, this E7 is right on the cusp. I'd say you can get away in certain instances. But for example, this is getting a little bit too muddy. So what I would do here in this case, in this situation, I still need my shells, but I'm going to have my shells here below the melody. And then what this allows me to do is I can now fill in with extensions because I have my foundation that I'm teaching you. I can fill in with like the 11 or the 5 if I want, right? So now I have my voicing that I'm going to use for my E flat minor 7 chord. Okay, so I'm going to play this E flat minor 7 chord, and then I'm going to play the melody. Now again, let's check out the melody on the B flat 7 here. I need a bass note. I'm going to go down here because I want rich, lush, low end bass notes. The more you can keep your left hand down in the lower end of the piano, the better off you're going to be for cocktail style solo piano ballads, okay? So now that the melody's up a little bit higher, what does this allow me to do? It either allows me to play 1 and 10 in my left hand or 1 and 7. Now again, the 10 is just the third. You can think about the 10 as the third. So you can think about 1 and 3, but a tenth apart. So that would be this. If you can't reach that, that's okay. Don't worry. I'm going to show you how to jump to this, okay? But you do need those tenths in there because they're very important to creating big, lush sounds. You hear how beautiful this sounds? Listen to how pretty these tenths are. The way the bass note in third resonates in the interval of a tenth, very important to harmony and resonance in your voicings. Okay, huge hack right here. The more tenths you can get in your left hand, the better you're going to sound. If you're playing thirds in your left hand, no bueno. No good, okay? Really try to get some tenths in. So I'm going to try to go for a 10th here because my melody's up a little bit higher. I'm going to play my 10th. I can now fit both shells in, split between my thumbs. You see that? So I got my bass note, 3 in the interval of a 10, 7 melody. That's my foundation there. Now I can do this in one of two ways. I can hit the melody and the bass note together and play the shells on the upbeat. So I would go, right? So in this case, I might go, sorry. See how I did that? So I placed it right on the downbeat, 3 and. That's one of the ways you can get to tenths. If you can't reach it, you're just going to play the 10th with your pinky, play the bass note with your pinky and just move your thumb up, just like that, right? The other way you can do it is like this. Just play the 10th alone. So I'm going to play my full chord on the downbeat with the bass note, and then I'm going to jump up and play the 10th all by itself. So the first way was like this, play the melody and the bass note together, then play your shells. The second way was play the full chord, whatever voicing you're going to use. Right here, I'm going to talk about extensions in just a second, but let's say I add the flat 9 and the 3 here. I can jump up to the 10th. Now, one of the things that students start to ask me at this point is if let's say I play the 3rd in my right hand, do I need to play this 10th? Technically speaking, no, you don't, but check it out. If I play this, listen to that sound. Now I'm going to play the 10th. Right? Now I'm going to take the 3rd out of my right hand. The balance of having bass note and shells in your left hand, in your left hand and right hand below the harmonies that you're creating is a much more blended, balanced voicing for jazz. I just want you to know that. So although you can get away with doing this, in certain situations I will do this, okay? As a beginner or intermediate player or anyone that, you're watching this right now to learn from me, I would recommend that you start by trying to get your tenths in because that's going to build good habits for you, all right? So again, I have my first voicing here. I'm going to play that on the downbeat, then play the melody. So E flat minor. I'm harmonizing my chords where the voicing aligns with the chord. So the chord's aligned on the downbeat of 1, so I'm going to play my voicing on the downbeat of 1, then play the melody. 1 and 2 and 3 and. I played my shells on the and, right? Now check it out. How would we harmonize this? Let's look at it. We got our melody in the B flat. Okay, we need our bass note. I'm going to pick a nice low end bass note. This bass note's too high. It's above the cutoff that I told you in the beginning. Don't use this E flat. Okay, do not use this E flat. I'll say it one more time. Do not use this E flat. You need to use this E flat below C3, okay, to create these rich, lush, cocktail-styled ballad voicings. The melody's up high in the middle of the staff. What is this going to indicate to me? It's going to indicate that I can use a 10th and a big spread for my voicing. So here's my 10th, 1 to 3. I have the 3 here. I need the 7 here. Boom, I got my foundation. Okay, so there's my foundation. Look at this spread, you guys. Beginners, even a lot of intermediate players do not play jazz like this, right? They would probably play something like this, 1 and 7, 3, and the melody, right? This is way too thin to get that pro sound you're after. I promise you. Okay? Repetition creates impression, all right? So, low end bass note, 3, 7. And again, you can play this in 2 different ways. Hit the melody with the bass note together, play the shells in the middle, or hit your whole voicing that you're going to use in your right hand, and then add in the 3rd after. Okay? Let's look at this voicing and explore this voicing a little bit more, because let's say I'm able to go through the whole tune like this in this system that I'm showing you, right? Meaning you have the melody, you have the bass note, and you have your shells in the middle split between your thumbs. And like I said, they're not always split between your thumbs, because sometimes when the melody gets down low, like I said, I might just harmonize like this. Like on that first chord, I'm putting both shells in my right hand because the melody is so low, it does not allow me to play and split my shells between my thumbs. That's why. As the melody moves up in the staff, I can now split my shells between my thumbs, which allows me to pick other extensions with my free fingers. okay? Not my 3 fingers, but yes, my other 3 fingers. I guess both, my 3 and free fingers, okay? So I can place my index finger here. I can place my thumb on here. It's kind of up to me. If I want to get some notes in between my shells, this is a chance to do that. And it's okay to do this, right? It's okay for the harmony. I wouldn't put too many complicated extensions, though, sitting between your shells. The only thing that you really kind of want to watch out for, I would start or recommend in the spot that you're probably at, is to put the 5 here. Okay? So don't put like a flat 13 here, right? Well, on the minor 7 chord, you probably wouldn't do that, but if you want to put like a natural 13, okay, don't start by doing that. Those are really, really, really advanced voicings. I'm not there yet. I'm not teaching about that. So the only thing I'd really put here for you is just the 5, okay? The way you can start to really simplify this in your mind is you want to place extensions between the melody and the last shell that you're playing. So here's my spread. Here's the last shell that I'm playing in my right hand. Here's my melody. I want to place my extensions, if you know extensions, in between here. So let's pick some extensions out. Think about some extensions that are available over an E flat minor 7 chord. Do you know them? If not, that's okay, right? You just got to learn them. If you do know them, this is a fun part of the exercise. I'm going to choose my 9, and I'm going to pick my 11 too. So there's my 9 and 11. You can think about these as just colors. They're spices. They're flavors. It's like cayenne and cinnamon and nutmeg and, you know, paprika. These are colors to color the chord up, right? And then I got my meat and potatoes. I'm going to add my 5. So here's the voicing I've just created on this spread. Now I can reach, right, the 10th here from my E flat to G flat. Again, if you cannot, you can do it like this. You can play your full voicing you've created and then jump to the 10th, or you can play melody with your bass note and then play your chord in the middle together. Okay, those are the 2 ways you can do that, right? So I'm going to play this for you and hit that voicing. Let's see if I can remember it. Yeah, let's make sure I can remember that. And 2, and 3, and 4, and again, I'm going to hit the spread. 1, 2. So I hit the full spread together, or I could go 1 and 2, right? So 1 and 2. The melody note is, there's another melody note on beat 2, right? That's how we're working through the tune. Is it a slow process? Yes. Is it a tedious process? Yes. Is it a difficult process? Yes. Do you have to learn a lot? Yes. Is it going to take you time? Yes. Is it going to take you lots of practice? Yes. Is it going to take you hours and hours and hours of practice? Yes. But this is how you get to the level that I know you're trying to reach. Let's go on. This this D7 chord is just a tritone for a 5 chord. So usually in body and soul, I like to play the D7 or I'll play the 5 chord. So A flat 7, just the 5 chord, which leads us to the D flat major. Now, when there is a chord with no melody, guess what? You have free reign to create any voicing you want at that point. So what I like to do here is for this A flat, you can do anything you want. You could create a 2-hand voicing if you know how to do that. You could do, let me see, flat 13, flat 9, right? And again, but check out my 2-hand spread. I got bass note, shells. I'm still following the same principle I've been teaching this whole time. I got my extensions above, sitting above the last shell note. Right? So bass note, A flat, the A flat 7 chord I'm playing, 7, 3, flat 13, flat 9. Right? Now, if I wanted to kind of get some more of that thick richness, umami flavor, no, I'm just kidding. Right? In this particular, I like food, obviously, you can tell. In this particular voicing, I could, this is kind of low for shells, but I don't hate it. I don't mind it, right? I could get maybe like a 9 here, sharp 11, 13. I'm sorry, no. There we go. Kind of getting a little muddy, but like I don't hate it. I would say it's right on the cusp for this A flat 7 chord. So as you can see, different chords take on different properties. Like an A flat 10th here, right, in the low end of the piano, that's getting kind of low, but it almost works, right, for shells. I would say this is the cutoff to play a 10th in your left hand. The A flat 7 here, with 1 and 7 works really well because we have 1 and 7 here, 3, and then we have our extensions on top. And usually, the best way to voice lead chords is if your left hand is playing a 1 to 10 voicing, like I've been teaching you, to voice lead to the next 5 chord in a 2-5-1, usually it's just easiest to just play 1 and 7. Because check it out. 1 to 10 is going to move to 1 to 7. This note on top stays the same. That's a good voice leading hack, right? So I play my voicing here, and then I go to my A flat 7 voicing here, and then to my D flat major voicing, whatever that is. Now check it out. If I play this voicing here, right, you might say, well, Brendan, you're not playing your shell split. No, I'm not, because the voicing I'm playing is quite low. So in this case, I've chosen to play a rootless voicing, a regular rootless voicing, but I do have the 10 in there, the 3rd, 5, 7, 9. This is just a regular rootless voicing, okay, just like that. So I'd highly encourage you to work through tunes in this manner. Try to just play through the tunes in a very simple way with just the basic setups first. Bass note, shells, and melody. Right? Just like this. Now what are we going to do here, right? 1, 7, 3, melody. We actually have 2 choices. We could do a 10 as well. Like this. Okay? I kind of like this option better, but technically based on the system I'm teaching you, you do have 2 options. Now this option right here, the reason I like this better is because I have a nice octave to fit a balanced chord in between. When I do this, right, based on what I'm teaching you, I recommended you place your extensions between the last shell note in the melody, right? So how much room does this give you to add some extensions? Not much. Not much at all, right? So if I do this, I have bass note, shells, I have a full octave to add extensions into my voicing, right? I could place 13, flat 9, natural 9. I could put the sharp 11, right? Maybe sharp 11, 13, natural 9. Woo! That's fire. Right? Check this out. Now again, foundation, extensions. Foundation, extensions. Foundation, bass note, shells, melody, colors, extensions, spices. Meat and potatoes, spices, flavors, right? You see that? So if you can get that system down, if you can get that happening through tunes, you're going to be a pro 4 to 6 weeks, promise you. Now, how do we do this? How do we practice this? I'm going to leave you with this. There's different tools that you need in your tool bag to do this. You can't just sit down. I see so many students watch my videos and try to play through tunes using the tools I've given you. But what happens, okay, if I were to hand you a chainsaw and I said, okay, John Doe, take this chainsaw and cut down this massive 200-foot tree, right? That's pretty overwhelming. It's pretty dangerous. You're not going to really know how to use the chainsaw. Technically, you watched me do it, right? Are you going to go and try it yourself? No. When you learn about tools, when I hand you tools and you're holding a tool, you need to practice with the tool in controlled environments, right? So if I'm telling you that you need to know your 1s and 10s and 7s, like for an E flat minor 7, you need to get working with this tool. Now the tool here is specifically bass note to 3 in an interval of a 10th with a 7. That's one tool because you're going to need that system, that setup constantly. You're going to need to use that a lot. And how do you get used to using a tool a lot? If you want to use a chainsaw, if you want to use a hammer, if you want to use a wrench, practice in a controlled, safe environment. Before you start to go willy-nilly with the chainsaw on these big trees, before you start to hop in tunes, before you get into a game situation, right, and just start throwing curveballs or fastballs, you practice in a controlled environment where there's no pressure. So what does that look like for us in our practice? 2-5-1s. Just practice this through 2-5-1s first. Because if you can do it like that in a controlled environment, then when you get to the tune is just a little bit more than that because you have a melody to to add, right? It's one step higher. So just practice your 1 and 10 setup through your 2-5-1s. See what I did there? 2-5-1 in the key of C. Bass note to 3 in a 10th interval with the 7. I'm using the same exact jump that I showed you that you're going to need. I'm going to resolve my right hand thumb down by a third because that's good voice leading technique. And then I'm going to play the 10th again. And then I'm going to go to the next key, the key of F. Why am I doing the circle of force? Because jazz likes to move in the circle of force. If you can practice your 2-5-1s through the circle of force, you practice anything through the circle of force, you're going to be well equipped to handle tunes because progressions and chord changes in the tunes move in the exact same cycle as the circle of force. That's why we don't do practice in circle of fifths like classical musicians, okay, like classical music. Here's my next one. G minor 7, C7, F major 7. Then we move to the key of B flat. Right, and the key of E flat. This exercise alone will drastically propel you and propel your progress forward for solo piano cocktail style more than I could probably ever give you anything else. Just this alone. That's setup 1 that you should practice through the keys. Setup number 2 is the flip-flop. Before we were starting on 1 and 10. Yeah. Sorry. 1 and 10 to, and then resolving down by a third in my right hand. The next setup is the opposite, 1 and 7 to 1 and 10. So now I'm going to start with 1 and 7. Now check it out. 1 and 7 here in the key of C. What happens here? When I play a 1 and 7 in the key of C, a D minor 7 here, what rule is this breaking that I said at the very beginning of this podcast lesson? It's breaking the rule that the bass note should not be higher than the C, okay? Now, I get it. Sometimes you're going to need to do this, okay? There's always situational variances to the rules I'm giving you. If you do ever want to do this or need to do this, all you got to do is jump down and hit a bass note. If you hit a voicing like this, because you're not playing a bass note that's low enough, what I like to do and what I recommend you to do, jump down and hit a bass note to get that low and rich sound in. So what I'm going to have you do for this exercise, which is really, really cool because it's training your brain to think like a bass player and think where your bass notes are. If you see yourself hit a bass note, a 1 and 7, because this 1 and 7 is too low, you can't do that there, right? So I said you can't do this and I said you can't do this, but I'm giving you an option. I'm giving you a way out of this that you can do it. Never do this. Too low for 1 and 7. Never do that. Never play 1 and 7, like I said, below this E7, I would say, is your final place. You hear the resonance between E flat and D flat? This is really the cutoff, okay, right here. If you need to, if you absolutely have to, I would say stick to the F7. But never play this, that's too low, okay? So you're gonna play this, jump down, you're gonna go to your 10th, and then you're gonna go to your 1 and 7. You see that? So I'm playing 1 and 7, I'm jumping down to my bass note, I'm playing 1 and 10 with the shells of a G7, and then C major 7. Let's do one more key. So now in the key of F, I don't have to worry about this at all, because my 1 and 7 is in a perfect spot. So I'm going to go 1 and 7, 3 here, 1 and 10, or the 3, 7, and then I'm going to resolve it here. Now check it out. As I move to the key of B flat, my C is actually right on the cusp. So I don't have to jump down to hit that C to get that low and bass note in because it's right on the cusp, so we're okay. All right? So I promise you, I've been teaching this to all my accelerator students, my Inner Circle Mastermind students working through cocktail solo piano style ballads. They've been seeing amazing results with this exercise. When you put this into place and you focus on it, don't focus on anything else. I see so many students spread their focus way too thin on so many concepts. Just do this. Just focus on one thing because it's the 80-20 rule. What I'm giving you here is literally, right, the 20% that's going to get you 80% of the way there. You don't need all that other stuff, especially if you just want to learn cocktail style ballads. The way to create rich, lush two-hand voicings is through this system. I promise you. Trust me. Okay, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been teaching for a long time, performing for a long time. If you do this 2 to 4 weeks, practice it, start implementing it into tunes, you're going to see a drastic difference in your playing. Okay? Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll talk to you soon. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to go to jazzpianoschool.com to check out all of our free, amazing education, all of the free podcast blogs. We do have a membership if you're looking to take a next step forward with us, get access to over 1,000 different jazz piano videos, playbooks, mini courses, a main course curriculum, success path, and so much more. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at support@jazzpianoschool.com. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, happy practicing.